Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel Biodiversity and Conservation. I am Subbalakshmi Raut from Ambia Prasad Research Foundation, India, and we are continuing our UGC NET examination series for environmental science. And this is the third part of Unit 8 Environmental Assessment, Management and Legislation. And today we are going to discuss about second chapter of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Here we will discuss about the authorities to be appointed or constituted under the Act. So let's start. So this starts from section 3, as in the previous slides you know you got to know about chapter 1, where there were two sections. Here it starts with third section, the appointment of director and other officers. So the central government has the power under this act to appoint a director of wildlife preservation and some officers and employees as they are required, and in the performance of his duties and exercise of his powers by this act, the director shall be subject to such general or special directions as the central government may from time to time give. The officers and other employees appointed under this section shall be required to assist the director. Now, under section 4, with the appointment of life warden and other officers. So here the state government has the power to appoint a chief wildlife warden, wildlife wardens, honorary wildlife wardens, and some officers and employees who are required for this job. So here in the performance of the duty of chief wildlife warden, he shall be subjected to such general or special directions as the state government may from time to time give. And the wildlife warden, the honorary wildlife warden, and other officers and employees appointed under this section shall be subordinate to the chief wildlife warden. And next section deals with the power to delegate. So it discusses about the power of director, chief wildlife warden, and all those appointees. So here the director may, with the previous approval of the central government by order in writing, delegate all or any of his powers and duties under this act to any officer subordinate to him, subject to such conditions, if any, as may specified in the order. So director has the power to give some or delegate some power to the subordinate officers, and like that only the chief wildlife warden, with the previous approval of the state government by order in writing, delegate all or any of his powers and duties under this act, except those under clause A of subsection 1 of section 11, to any officer subordinate to him, subject to such conditions, if any, as may be specified in the order. So here also chief wildlife warden can delegate his powers, all or small amount, to any officer subordinate to him. But there are some exceptions to this. Some under the clause A of subsection 1 of section 11, those cannot get these powers from chief wildlife warden. So the third clause states that the subject to any general or special direction given or condition imposed by the director or the chief wildlife warden, any person authorized by the director or the chief wildlife warden to exercise any powers may exercise those powers in the same manner and to the same effect as if they have been conferred or on that person directly by this act, not by way of delegation. So this explains that the director or the chief wildlife warden um, can give any general or special direction, um, or any condition that are authorized by them to exercise any powers by other officers, and they can exercise those powers in the same manner and same effect that are to set by the director or chief wildlife warden. So they can directly uh, use those powers and not require the way of delegation also. Sometimes it is possible. Um, 5A section um, states about the constitution of the National Board for Wildlife. So here the central government shall, within 3 months from the date of commencement of the Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2002, constitute the National Board for Wildlife consisting of the following members, namely the Prime Minister as chairperson, the Minister in charge of Forest and Wildlife as vice chairperson, three members of Parliament, of whom two shall be from the House of the People and one from the Council of States, and other member Planning Commission in charge of forests and wildlife, five persons to represent non-governmental organizations to be nominated by the central government, 10 persons to be nominated by the central government from amongst eminent conservationists, ecologists and environmentalists, the secretary to the government of India in charge of the ministry or department of the central government dealing with forests and wildlife, and next member may be the chief of the army staff, the secretary to the government of India in charge of the Ministry of Defense, the secretary to the government of India in charge of Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, the secretary to the government of India in charge of the Department of Expenditure, Ministry of Finance, the secretary to the government of India, Ministry of Welfare, the Director General of Forests in Ministry or Department of the Central Government dealing with forests and wildlife, the Director General of Tourism, Government of India, the Director General, Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, Dehradun, the Director, Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun, the Director, Zoological Survey of India, the Director, Botanical Survey of India, the Director, Indian Veterinary Research Institute, the Member Secretary, General Zoo Authority, the Director, National Institute of Oceanography, one representative each from 10 states and union territories by rotation to be nominated by the central government, the Director of Wildlife Preservation, who shall be the Member Secretary of the National Board. So these are all the members under the National Board. And next is the term of office of the members other than those who are members of ex officio, the manner of filling vacancies referred to in clause E, F and 5 of subsection 1, and the procedure to be followed in the discharge of their functions by the members of the National Board shall be such as may be prescribed, and the members except members ex officio shall be entitled to receive such allowances in respect of expenses incurred in the performance of their duties as may be prescribed, notwithstanding any content in any other law for the time being in force. The office of a member of the national boards shall not be deemed to be an office of profit. So they are not working for profit, they are working for the welfare of the wildlife. Now, the 5B Standing Committee of National Board. So, the National Board may, in its discretion, constitute a standing committee for the purpose of exercising such powers and performing such duties as may be delegated by the to the committee by the National Board. So, the standing committee shall consist of the vice chairperson, the member secretary, and not more than 10 members to be nominated by the vice chairperson from amongst the members of the national board. And the national board may constitute committees, subcommittees, or study groups as may be necessary from time to time in proper discharge of the functions assigned to it. So here the standing committee are the people uh, who will um, follow the orders of national board and perform the duties, and they have those powers to perform these duties that are to be delegated to the committee by the national board. So they, as you can say, the um, frontline officers. So in 5C, we will know about the functions of the National Board. It shall be the duty of the National Board to promote the conservation and development of wildlife and forests by such measures as it thinks fit, without prejudice to the generality of the foregoing provision. The measures referred to therein may provide for framing policies and advising the central government and the state governments on the ways and means of promoting wildlife conservation and effectively controlling poaching and illegal trade of wildlife and its products, and making recommendations on the setting up of and management of national parks, sanctuaries, and other protected areas, and on matters related to restriction of activities in those areas, carrying out of or causing to be carried but impact assessment of various projects and activities on wildlife or its habitat, reviewing from time to time the progress in the field of wildlife conservation in the country and suggesting measures for improvement thereto, and preparing and publishing a status report at least once in 2 years on the wildlife in the country. So these are the functions of the national board. Now, next is the constitution of the state board for wildlife. The state government shall, within a period of 6 months from the date of commencement of the Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2002, constitute a state board for wildlife consisting of the following members, like the chief minister of the state, in case of union territory either chief minister or administrator, as the case may be, as chairperson, the minister in charge of forest and wildlife as vice chairperson, three members of the state legislature, or in the case of a union territory with legislature, two members of legislative assembly of that union territory, three persons to represent non-governmental organizations dealing with wildlife to be nominated by the state government, 10 persons to be nominated by the state government from amongst eminent conservationists, ecologists, and environmentalists, including at least two representatives of the scheduled tribes, the secretary to the state government or the government of union territory, as the case may be, in charge of forest and wildlife, the officer in charge of the state forest department, the secretary to the state government department of tribal welfare, the managing director of State Tourism Department Corporation, an officer of the State Police Department not below the rank of Inspector General, a representative of the armed forces not below the rank of a brigadier to be nominated by the central government, the Director, Department of Animal Husbandry of the state, the Director, Department of Fisheries of the state, an officer to be nominated by the Director, Wildlife Preservation, a representative of the Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun, a representative of the Botanical Survey of India, a representative of the Zoological Survey of India, and the Chief Wildlife Warden, who shall be the member secretary. So these are all the members of the state board, and the term of office of the members other than those who are members ex officio, and the manner of filling vacancies referred to in clauses D and E of subsection 1, and procedure to be followed shall be such as may be prescribed. The members except the members of ex officio shall be entitled to receive such allowances in respect of expenses incurred in the performance of their duties as may be prescribed. Now, the procedure to be followed by the board. So, the board shall meet at least twice a year at such a place that the state government may direct, and the board shall regulate its own procedure, and no act of proceeding of the board shall be invalid merely by reason of the existence of any vacancy therein, or any defect in the constitution thereof, or any irregularity in the procedure of the board not affecting the merits of the case. So these are some of the procedures that are followed by the board, the state board. Now, what are the duties of the State Board for Wildlife? So, it shall be the duty of the State Board for Wildlife to advise the state government in the selection and management of areas to be declared as protected areas, in formulation of the policy for protection and conservation of wildlife and specified plants. The specified plants are those that are included in Schedule 6 mainly, and in any matter relating to the amendment of any schedule in relation to the measures to be taken for harmonizing the needs of tribals and other dwellers of the forest with the protection and conservation of wildlife, and in any other matter connected to the protection of wildlife which may be referred to it by the state government. So this is all from me today. Thank you.